see. Let's find out. Hey, there we are. We're live. What is going on? It is a late night edition of Top 5 Baits. I apologize for being late tonight, guys. Like I said, it's been crazy busy for me lately. And I haven't even got to check emails yet. So if you guys have emailed me anything today, I apologize. I will get to that as soon as I'm done with this. But super busy here lately, guys. It's spring break. It's probably the busiest week of the year on Lake Fork. And unfortunately for a lot of you guys that have been coming out, I mean, it is by golly tough. But it's been really, really tough for numbers of bites. I mean, it's not just me. It's every guy that I talk to. I mean, it's every person that I talk to. Nobody is catching a lot of fish. Very, very rarely do I hear of somebody that's catching a decent number of fish in a day. But there's still some big fish being caught every single day. So that's just the situation that's going on. But here's the deal. It's getting better. And what's going on right now tonight, you feel how warm that air is tonight? That's going to make a big difference. How warm that air is going to be tomorrow is going to make a really big difference. By the time this big tournament comes for you guys that are fishing the Megabass on Saturday, them fish honestly should bite. I mean, they should really start biting the next couple days. And I saw a little window. I saw a little something today. Thanks to my buddy Mike McFarlane, kind of showed it to me. And, you know, we're right on the front edge of this bite, but there's a bite that's about to go down that's going to be really special. And I'm hoping that I'll get my timing right on it and get it right. But anyways, that's enough about general fishing. You know, it's been tough, guys. The water's dirty. We've had a lot of really cold nights. And anytime you have really cold nights in the springtime, it puts a dent in the fishing. The water temps haven't dropped a tremendous amount, but it's just enough to where it slows their progress and kind of puts them on hold. And by golly, I tell you, they've been on hold this week. That's kind of been what we've all seen go on. So it should be on like Donkey Kong come Saturday. Bed fishing time. Well, if we could get a little clarity in the lake, see, there's a lot of fish spawning on Lake Fork on the northern end of the lake, but you can't see them. And there's just a few fish spawning in the water that's clear enough to actually see a couple fish. So the bed fishing is very limited right now, but that's all about to change. I mean, by the time 2 weeks from now shows up, it's going to be crazy bed fishing. Professor. Wow. Oh my goodness, look how many people are here. This is crazy. You guys are awesome. Somebody says Old Lake Fork was rough today. It was rough, but when you ride in an old red Skeeter, it's all right. You can get around pretty good in it. Oh, T-Lo says he's on time tonight, no detention. That's just because I'm late. That's the only reason, T-Lo, the only reason you are on time is because I'm so late tonight. Somebody says their lake is 38 to 40 degrees. That's cold. We're right around 60-degree mark, depending on where you're at. You can find some water 57. You can find some water 62, 63. So, some of it climbed higher than that this afternoon, I'm sure. But, wow, I'm trying to read while I talk, and that's a really bad idea because I'm not that smart. Somebody said they caught 33 at a small pool. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a lake that's not Lake Fork, there's a lot of lakes fishing really well right now. Lake Athens is fishing very well right now. Don't tell nobody, but Lake Monticello filled back up with all this rain, and word has it, Lake Monticello is going off right now. You may see a video sometime next couple weeks from Monticello if I can find time to get over there. I'm just saying. All right, let's break into top 5 baits. And it's starting to look, the baits that we are using, the baits we're getting bites on, is looking more and more like springtime every day. And that in itself alone excites me because the patterns are starting to reflect springtime. So let's get started. Right there. Probably the number one, no matter how tough it gets, I can get some bites on it. I did this so I can show you guys my hook and everything. Wacky Rigs Smash Stick, and I believe this is another brand that somebody left in my boat. But anyway, you guys see that hook? That's a Gamakatsu Finesse White Get Weedless. Wacky Rigs Stick Bait, watermelon red, hard to beat. That is the deal this time of year, guys. That's a springtime deal. The few bedfish that I am being able to see, I'm going to show you guys the rig I've been using so far. It's been working really well. Got a little 3/16 ounce weight. Got a glass bead, give it a little bit of clicking. And this is a lot like a Strike King Menace. It's a little different, got a little longer body so it can hold a bigger hook, which I like that. But it's a bait that is not being sold anywhere, so go get a Strike King Menace because it's a really good bed fishing bait. These claws move really easy. This bait stands up when it's on the bed. This bait does a lot of good things. So like that, but man, you can use a variety of little creature baits on a bed that'll work really well. The Lake Fork Tackle Hyper Freak is a very, very good bed bait. Then you got old Standby, Mr. Chatterbait. Well, look, we've gone, this is my springtime color. You guys know I like that white. I've been throwing black and blue, little chartreuse, doing all these different things. Typically, white's my #1 standby most of the winter and pre-spawn time. But once we get to spring, once these fish start relating to beds, that old green pumpkin, with that green pumpkin and orange Live Magic Shad, that's the deal. So I'm throwing a 3/8 ounce green pumpkin chatterbait with a black nickel blade. And I believe that's called Brim or Magic Brim, or just find that green and orange Live Magic Shad. That's the deal in the springtime right there on the chatterbait. Set this over here out of the way. All right, now talk a little bit about this pattern that Mike McFarland actually kind of found it first and then kind of clued me into it. And I went looking for a version of it on my own spots today. We actually saw each other. We're fishing right next to each other. Similar patterns, similar spots, but not on the exact same spot. Because I wouldn't do that to my boy like that. But what you got to have is wind, which we have had plenty of and we're going to have plenty more of. Once you find windy points that are very, very shallow, there's some of these points on this lake that will run out into the lake very shallow. We're talking 2, maybe 3, down to 5, 6 foot is where we're fishing. But wind-blown points, and throwing a Carolina rig, throw a lizard on it. Just any old 6 to 8 inch lizard will work. A brush hog will work great for this pattern too. But a Carolina rig, y'all see I got my hook there, my weight's somewhere way up here up this long rod. But anyway, Carolina rig lizard on windy, wind-blown, kind of points that are kind of inside the mouth of the creek, just inside the mouth of the creek, have seemed to be the best ones. But just run point to point to point. And I'll tell you a big clue on this, guys, is birds. If you see those diving birds that dive and eat bait, a loon, cormorant, stuff like that, wherever those birds are on those wind-blown points, that's where they're at. And it's not an all-day deal. It's little windows. They pull up, they pull off. They pull up, they pull off. When you time it right, man, there's some good fish to be had. I'm going to show you one other thing. We got our first bite on this today. And unfortunately, even though we had 25-pound line, my customer today got bit by an absolute monster on this bait, and he broke it off. And that's part of the game when you're on them big fish, high winds, stressful environment, and you catch a fish that big, you can catch some really big fish. And y'all probably know what this is by the way I'm describing it. But it's time to smash them, boys. Smash Tech Convict 7-inch swim bait. Okay, sorry about that. Here's the teaser. Big bait, 7-inch Smash Tech Convict, weightless, weedless. You gotta fish it so slow. You don't want it on the bottom of these areas, but you want it just off the bottom, and you just gotta creep it, man. I mean, it's just as long as it's fast enough to keep that tail kicking, that's good. And this one's got the head chewed up and everything. But hey, it's a deal right there, guys, I'm telling you. This is actually a pour that is not really sold, but Mr. Stan, the guy that makes baits with Heath Taylor at Smash Tech, made some of these for himself called Citrus Shad. And I said, hey, that looks pretty good. Pour me some of them, and I got some. But, you know, right now I think the best color is pearl. Honestly, pearl white with the watercolor we have on Lake Fork is the very best color. In grass, no. Everywhere that has, everywhere that has grass on Lake Fork is far enough north that right now it's too dirty for me. I'm actually trying to steer away from some of that dirty water. I'm fishing the southern half of the lake, and the southern half of the lake doesn't have a lot of grass. And if it's far enough back in the creek that there's grass in it, it's dirty, and I'm staying out of it. Yeah, Owner Beast 10-aught, yes, that's the hook. No, yeah, no, it was definitely a bass. Somebody said, did we see it was a bass? Yeah, no, 100%. 100, 1,000 million% it was a bass. Doing my budget and listening to top 5 baits. Doing your budget while listening to top 5 baits is probably a bad idea. Those kind of contradict each other, bro. Yeah, Mid-Lake South is where I'm concentrating. Trying to find any questions. How's the fishing around 154 Bridge around the 1st? Around the 1st of April, fishing should be going off all across the whole lake. Keep it on my... Do I ever want to use a bobber stop when bed fishing? I personally don't. I don't know why. I just don't. I don't like using bobber stop when fishing beds. Best trailer for the Impact swim jig. Right now, I would throw a swim bait trailer. I would actually throw the full size Smash Tail is what I'd be throwing on a back of a swim jig. Smash Tail by Smash Tech, the full size, not the junior. That's what I'd be throwing for a swim jig trailer right now. What kind of rod on the Convict? The rod that I throw my Convicts on is a 711 Extra Heavy Limit 5 Series. Right there. What's my favorite jig? My favorite jig is a 6 Sense Divine Hybrid jig. Did really well with orange, red, brown square bill or regular crankbait. Okay, good. What about plastic worms? Yeah, I mean, you know, guys, as we get to spring, here's the deal, man. These fish are going to spread out. They're going to be a lot of fish in a lot of areas that are spread out when they're spawning, and the dirty water is just making them spread out even more as it drives them shallow. And so slowing down on something, that's the big deal. Even on that wacky worm bite and that chatterbait bite, man, we're having to make repeated casts. We're having to move these baits as slow as possible. I mean, it's all about slowing down right now. These fish are stationary. They're not moving around a lot. They're not willing to get very far away from that bed, a lot of them. So they are really stagnant when they're like that. You got to, or really stationary when they're like that. You really have to slow down. So any Texas rig, plastic worm, you know, if that's your preference, that's fine. I like the baits with a lot of moving appendages because when it's sitting still, when I'm fishing it so slow, all those little legs on that lizard and all that stuff, the flaps on the brush hog, they're still moving. So when I'm fishing this slow and I have to sit that bait still, I like those baits that have a lot of appendages on them. Am I fishing moving baits primarily? I wouldn't, no, definitely not. I mean, I'm fishing the wacky rig and I'm fishing that Carolina rig lizard a lot. I definitely wouldn't say that I'm fishing moving baits primarily. Am I getting good bites on the Movement 80X? I haven't been getting any bites lately on the Movement 80X, but I haven't been throwing it very much either. Who calls? Who calls me while I'm in the middle of a live stream? As a customer too. One of you knuckleheads is calling me. Have I checked out alligator at all? I have checked out alligator. I actually did find one pair of bedfish in there, and that was it. But the only thing that I really use alligator for this time of year, honestly, is bed fishing. I went, made a pass through there, just saw one bed, ain't been back. Can you still catch fish in creek channels on jigs? Not for me. You know, this dirty water's pushed them shallower, and that's why those shallow wind-blown points are a big thing. Come on, Wi-Fi, let's go. All right, am I back? All right, I'm back. So here's the deal. Somebody tried to call me. When somebody tries to call me, it messes up the shot on the screen. Between the Wi-Fi and people trying to call me, I'm telling you. Somebody asked, do I have any guide trips in the fall? Yeah, I have plenty of openings in the fall. If you want to book a fall trip, now's a great time to do that. Get ahead of the curve. Ground control to Major Tom. Still have plenty of hoodies? Yes, I still have plenty of hoodies left. Are the baits that I said from last week coming out? That's my fault, guys. I didn't get them added to my site. All I have to do is get the time to physically go in there and build that product on my website, and I'll be able to sell them to you. I really apologize for that. Will rain push the fish back deeper? First of all, guys, what you got to understand is that rain itself does absolutely zero to fish. Guess what? They're already wet. Now, sometimes weather that comes with rain, be it a cold front, be it a warm front, be it wind, those type of things affect fish. But the rain itself ain't going to affect nothing. It ain't getting cold this weekend. It ain't going to do nothing to those fish. Not a thing. They aren't even going to realize it's raining. It's not going to bother them a bit. Magnum lizards. On the Magnum lizards, you know what, man? I don't fish them a whole lot, but there's certainly nothing wrong with fishing a bigger bait, especially on Lake Fork, especially if you're fishing mega bass trying to catch an over. If you want a Carolina rig, that real big lizard on the main lake points I'm talking about, or the secondary points I'm talking about, get on the windy points with that sea rig and throw that big lizard. I don't have a problem with that at all. I get plenty of good bites on that 8-inch lizard that I throw, 6 to 8-inch lizard, but it's yeah, the old big bait, why not? Fish a pretty shallow grassy lake by my house, get bites on chatterbait and swim jig, no big bites. Am I missing something? If you have good water clarity, you need to get some of this. If you have a really grassy lake and the water's relatively clean, you need to get a Smash Tech Convict. The weedless Convict is your best friend to find a big bite in clean, grassy water. What size weight am I using with the Carolina rig? As light as I can go away with. That one that's on there right now is a 1/2 ounce. Honestly, today we should have been throwing a 1 ounce with how windy it was, but I like to go as light as possible and go really slow with that Carolina rig. Do I ever go out and get skunked on fork? Very rare, but yeah, every once in a while it happens. Brandon Malone, I appreciate that comment, brother. Thank you very much. Fishing a 3-inch chigger craw, I rigged. All I'm catching is little bucks. Do I need to go to bigger bait? Not necessarily. You're going to catch a lot of bucks. See, we're in the early, if you're around this area, you're in the very early stages of the spawn. When you're in the very early stages, the majority of your fish that are going to be up there doing their bedding thing are going to be male fish. They get there before the females. So if you're catching bucks, you may just need to fish a little out or just wait a little bit. The females are coming. They're just not there yet. If I'm bank fishing, would I throw a 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce jig? I would throw the lighter jig unless the wind dictated that I throw the bigger jig. Have I thrown the old yellow belly frog yet? Very little. We haven't caught a fish on it yet. I have not thrown it much yet. What to you are the most durable plastics? Well, that depends on what type of bait you're talking about, and I don't really worry about durability on plastics. They're cheap enough that I'd rather have a soft bait that has better action than a tough bait for me on plastics. Ring fry, good sea rig bait? Absolutely, it's a good sea rig bait. Right now, I like something that has appendages. I'm fishing it so slow that I like something that has little appendages that'll keep moving even when I'm not moving the bait. Are the fish stacked up deep? No, absolutely not. They're not stacked up deep, not by any means. That dirty water and everything, plus it's springtime, everything's telling them to go shallow right now, guys. Well, Brett Rim, we're fishing a Carolina rig, but we're not fishing it in 20 foot of water. You know what I'm saying? Like we're fishing a Carolina rig because it's good on those windy points, but we're fishing those points in like 2 to 6 foot of water. So the presentation maybe is going back, but it's just another, I think we get so up, I do top 5 baits every week for you guys, but there's so much more to fishing than just the bait you throw. On any given day, you can catch fish on a number of different baits. It's more about understanding their behavior, understanding where they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and then picking a bait that you can fish efficiently in those type of areas. So a wind-blown point, even if it's in 4 foot of water, a Carolina rig is a very good bait. You can throw it out there, get it on the bottom, drag it real slow, keep the bait in their face. So that's the Carolina rig deal. I mean, it's not about, we're not going backwards. The fish haven't transitioned back out to the main lake or anything like that. We're throwing it on secondary points that are wind-blown. Has the water cleared up? The water's not clearing up. It has nothing to do with rain. The water's having a hard time clearing up because we have so much wind every day right now. Somebody's saying they have a tournament on Palestine on Saturday. Would I recommend that they fish in the middle of Palestine because the creeks and the north being really muddy? Man, sometimes you can catch them really well in dirty water, especially on Palestine because they're kind of used to it on that lake. I wouldn't necessarily cross off those northern areas of Palestine because of dirty water, because most of the tournaments on that lake get one up north. Now, it may be the case that you need to fish somewhere else. I don't know because I haven't been out there. That would be something I'd have to get on the water to really answer you. The wind is awful right now. Yeah, the wind's awful right now, and it's going to be awful tomorrow. But that wind, you say it's awful, and yeah, it's not real comfortable driving around, but that wind can be your friend. I mean, I'm dependent on that wind for those point bites, that Carolina rig deal. I mean, I have to have the wind really ripping pretty good. Somebody has a tournament. Lane Seaman, you got a tournament on Tawakoni on the 24th. Any tips? Man, I've never fished Tawakoni. From what I understand, you got to fish really shallow on that lake is what everybody always says, but that's what everybody says, so that may not be the best thing. I don't know. Do I throw any Magnum crawls? Every once in a while, I'll throw, every once in a while I'll throw that Rage lobster, that really big Rage crawl. And also, the thing I like to do more than that is I like to put the full-size brush hog on a jig with a full skirt on it. I will throw that on a football jig out deep a lot of times. Am I starting at the backs of creeks or the mouths? Well, yes, is the answer to that question. If I'm looking for fish that are spawning or really close to spawning, I go all the way to the back. And this wind-blown point deal that we're doing, these are pre-spawn fish that have not moved all the way in yet, so we're fishing secondary points at the mouths of creeks. So the answer to that question is both. Any fish on the shell beds? If you know what the shell beds are on Lake Fork, that's what I'm talking about on these windy points. I'm looking for the points that have shell beds. There's no way to really identify them other than to tell you, hey, here's one here and here's one there. I can't just tell you what to look for on the bank or nothing on your map. It doesn't show up on your map. Just shallow wind-blown points. You hit enough of them, you'll find some that feel really crunchy when you drag that Carolina rig. Those are the ones I'm looking for. But what tells you where they are better than anything else, whether it's shell bed there or not, is the loons and the cormorants. If they're diving on a shallow point, if they're up there on a really shallow point, a loon doesn't go that shallow very often. And when they get up there and dive on a shallow point that's in 4 foot of water, they're only up there for one reason, and the bass are there for the same reason. Crunchy. That's right, baby. I look for the crunch. Read about the elite guys rigging a football jig with a crawl trailer, then wacky rigging a worm. Hold on. Wacky rigging a worm on top of it to catch some giants. I don't even know what you're talking about there, but that sounds crazy. A football jig with a wacky worm on top of it? I don't even know what that's about. Well, Mojo's asking, what's the difference between one of these points I'm talking about if it has rocks versus shell beds? What makes it better at fishing shell beds? Well, on Fork, that's not an issue because we don't have any points with rocks on them. Shell bed's the closest thing we got to rocks. They do it for, I don't even know. You guys must be talking to each other. I'm so confused in y'all's questions or comments. So they're going to be bedfish in pretty much every shallow cove or creek? Oh, no. No. All right. So Parker Brown's asking, are there going to be fish in every creek and cove? 100% no. Absolutely not. They're not going to be in every cove. In fact, you know, the southern half of the lake has like no spawners in it at all. Like the southern end of the lake has no spawners in it at all. Everything we're catching down there is totally pre-spawned on those windy points and stuff. I mean, they're shallow, but they're not spawning. Now, mid-lake, there's a little bit of spawning activity. That's where you can do some bed fishing a little bit. The northern end of the lake, there's a lot of spawning activity, but you can't see them. So that's kind of how it's breaking down right now. I should come to Lake Fairfield sometime. You know what? You're probably right. I probably should. I know that's a really good lake. I fished it many years ago, but I have not been in a long time. I know it's been really good the last couple of years. Carolina rig bite is good. Is the Mojo rig bite on too? Well, those spots are only good when the wind is really ripping on them. Like, I'm talking about blowing, like to the point where waves are coming over my boat, top of blowing. So that would be really impossible to fish a Mojo rig in that. Are there any more grass lakes like Athens? Yeah. Welsh is the next one that comes to mind. Lake Welsh. Got a rim of grass out to about 10, 12 foot of water all the way around it. Trying to think of other ones. Brandy Branch has a ton of grass in it. Those are probably the only two that have more grass than Athens. There's a lot of lakes that have some grass. You know, Lake Palisade has some grass. Lake of Pines has some grass. Never mind, I'm not going to say that out loud. Some things I do have to keep to myself, guys. You know how it is. Will I ever come to Colorado for smallmouth? Does Colorado have bass in it? Like actual bass? I didn't know that. I thought Colorado was like all trout water and pike water. I didn't know they had bass. Ben Shobe is tardy to the party. Lake Hawkins has a lot of grass. Yeah, there's a bunch of lakes in East Texas that are full of grass. A bunch. What do I fish in the rain at Fork? The same thing I fish not in the rain. I don't change anything when it rains, guys. Maybe change the color to a darker color, but that's because it's cloudy, not because it's raining. Rain does nothing to fish. Nothing. It does nothing to them. Don't say it, bro. Don't worry, I'm not going to say it, Brett. Rain don't do nothing. That's right, Mojo. You got it, buddy. Hey, man, I think that's about right. We've going to be about to do it. Lake Fairfield apparently has tons of hydrilla. Hydrilla grows gorillas. You know what I'm saying? There's some big heads in them hydrillas. But like, get Aaron Paulson. You better delete that comment, Aaron Paulson. Somebody might figure that out. Kentucky strain of largemouth bass. I mean, Kentucky spotted bass. They're not largemouth. They're spotted bass. Glade is kicking out monsters. I talked to a guy today that watches the videos. You know, a guy like some of y'all, and he had his kid out there, and his kid caught an 8-pounder on a jig. There's been some 10-pounders caught at Glade. Glade's kicking out some monsters this week. But the deal is, it's like what I'm talking about, where you got to slow way down, and it's like, I mean, you're lucky to get 4 or 5 bites a day. You know, that type of pace, bite every hour and a half, something like that. I mean, it's just really methodical, really slow. But there is some big old fish that are willing to bite in some of those northern areas. Do I think moon phases matter? Yes, and they matter more right now than they do any other time of year. More fish are moved around and move on moon phases than they do any other time of year during the spring. So much pressure. In Glade, yeah, there's so much pressure. That's true. Yep, somebody did catch a 15-pounder at Fork. Yeah, you heard correctly. there was a 15-pounder caught on Lake Fork. And there was actually 3 fish over 13 pounds caught and turned into the ShareLunker program within 10 days. All right, I got to wrap it up, guys. I got to get going, man. I still got emails to answer. If you've been sending me emails, like I said, I'm sorry. I just got done. The reason I'm so late tonight, I just got done returning phone calls and messages and got another phone call and message while I was talking to y'all tonight. So it's a busy time of year for me. I appreciate y'all's patience on some of that stuff, and we'll get back to kicking out some videos. I know I missed yesterday's video. It's the first time I've missed a Wednesday in like a year and a half or something. So really apologize to you guys for that, but it's been crazy around here. I'm trying to keep up best I can. But that's going to be it for the warm weather equals Googans. Yeah, have you noticed Lunkers TV's fishing a lot now that it's springtime? You see how that works out? Mm-hmm. He needs to get out there in that cold water with me one day and grind on him. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to go to Lunkers TV channel and comment or message him and tell him that he needs to get his butt out there in the cold weather and grind with his boy Billy. So, all right, man. Good luck this weekend, everybody fishing Megabass. If one of you guys does really well, man, let us hear about it next week. We really appreciate knowing about it. And best of luck to all you guys. And if nothing else, man, get out there, terrorize them greenbacks, and have a great time with whoever you're fishing with, be it yourself or your buddies or your kids or your wife or whatever you're doing. But, hey, thank y'all so much for following the channel, for participating in the channel. Really appreciate you guys so much. I love each and every one of you. And we will see you guys next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.